Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Open Discussion with C3 Films. My name is Chris, and this is.
Cheryl.
And today we're going to be talking about the new Disney Plus show, Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're talking about the first two episodes at the time of this recording. That's all that's been released so far. We will be going into spoiler territory, so if you haven't watched it, go check it out, watch the first two episodes, then come back and watch our show and see what we thought about it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump right into this. Obi-Wan Kenobi, I can't remember, is Obi-Wan one of your favorite Star Wars characters?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, that's what I thought. Um, so going into this show, did you have any expectations of what you thought it was going to be about? Because I know you don't watch trailers. So did you? Where did you think that this show was going to take place as far as timeline was concerned?
I was definitely going in blind. I had heard that Hayden Christensen was gonna be in it, but now I'm wondering if he's really going to be in it or if it was just because of the flashbacks. Because I thought this was gonna be kind of in the Clone War zone, where it's before he becomes Darth Vader, but actually because we had that recap at the beginning, which I really liked. uh, we know that he's already Darth Vader. So I don't know if he's really going to be in it or not unless there's flashbacks, but I feel like that wouldn't really make sense. So we'll see. I don't really know how that's going to turn out. Maybe it was a false rumor. Um, but yeah, I had no expectations. I really don't know where they're gonna go with it. All I really know is that I have some problems.
For sure, I'm kind of curious what those problems are. Before we get into that, though, yeah, I I'm pretty sure he is going to be in it. The question is he going to be taking his mask off as Vader? Like, I'm pretty sure there's a good chance Vader's going to show up in this show. But that's the thing. If you got Hayden Christensen to play Vader, does it really matter if he's under the mask? Because you could have anybody under the mask, and the voice isn't even his, right?
Exactly.
Because that was my question too. Like, how much of Hayden Christensen actually is in this show? So I was wondering if, like, at some point does he take the mask off, and that's when we get to see him full force. But we'll have to wait and see. But as far as the timeline, this takes place 10 years after the end of Attack. Excuse me, at the end of Revenge of the Sith. And like you, I liked the flashback, like seeing it as if it was like some previously on Star Wars type thing, and it's like directly referencing the movies. So I thought that was kind of cool. Um, and then yeah, and going forward, like there are points where this actually does feel like more of a movie than a television show. Um, but there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about. But let's go ahead and start talking. Like, since you brought up the fact that you have a little bit of like some problems, let's talk about just what those problems are for you so far.
So I really liked how they have little Luke and little Leia in it. But one of
Mm-hmm.
my biggest issues is actually with little Leia.
Leia. I had a
Yes.
feeling. I had a feeling it was gonna be Leia related, but let's continue.
I mean, I like what they were trying to do with her, but it just felt a little inconsistent. And the thing I think that really got me is when Obi-Wan actually goes to that planet and he finds her and saves her, and I get her questioning like, "Who are you? Why should I trust you and follow you?" But then it becomes a thing where she does kind of, figure out that, like, okay, yes, I should follow him. He is going to save me and everything because he got me out. So, um, my whole thing is that, like, she's supposedly supposed to take after her mom, who is, Padme,
Padme.
who is a very, Natalie Portman does a great job playing her as like an independent, strong woman who can take care of herself, and she has her own voice, and she doesn't need anyone telling her what to do because she's a very smart person. And then we have Little Leia, who is supposed to be like beyond her years in intellect, but somehow decides to make it very, very difficult for Obi-Wan to keep her focused and saving her. And here she is, like, being like, ooh, shiny this, shiny that. A very not Leia thing to do. Especially since she only has one outfit, basically, for all of the movies that she is in. Okay, that's not true. She has three outfits, but still. Three
I mean,
outfits, three movies. Point
to be
is,
fair, to be fair, she hasn't been off. This is her first time off world. There is that element to consider.
that's true. But I feel like there's a time and a place, and like,
This is not the time or the
yes.
place.
But also, I feel like I would have enjoyed it so much better if instead of her trying to make it harder for him to escape, like, I mean, like, even if it's a new world and everything, I feel like she would still be in, like, we need to escape. I was just kidnapped. I'm not at home. I'm in a strange world and I need to get home. Um,
Right.
and, but that's, like, not really that for her. And then she just kind of tries to make it hard. Like, she's not trying to make it hard. She just
She
is.
does.
But
Yeah.
I think it would be more like Leia if she would be trying to help him, and like how cool would it have been if she was doing things to help him as opposed to make it harder for him. I thought that would have been a way more compelling and way more badass thing to have, like, this 10-year-old Leia like taking up on her own to like make things easier for Obi-Wan, and actually like maybe even one up him in some things in terms of like a strategy to escape. That would be cool.
Yeah, I
But
mean
only because they
she is
point.
10.
I know she is 10, but they pointed out at the beginning how smart she is.
Right.
And they do it twice because even Obi-Wan is like, "How old are you again?" And she's like, "I'm 10." And also on that, shouldn't he know how old she is?
I mean, I think it was more of a redundancy question of like, you are
Exactly.
10, right?
Yeah, exactly. He was pointing out how she's beyond her years. So
Right.
I'm just going by what they're showing me. So
Fair enough. So I know I audibly got upset when she ran away from him just because she found out that the people kidnapped her to get to him. Because that doesn't change the fact that he's here to rescue you. So why are you now running from him? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, okay, fine. You found out that he didn't tell you like why he was there. You found out that he like they're really trying to get to him. Fine, whatever. But yeah, they kidnapped you to get to him. Okay, but he's here now and he's here to rescue you. That doesn't change just because the reason that they did it doesn't change the reason why he's here. He's still here to
mm-hmm.
rescue you regardless. So
Yes.
when she started running from him and causing more problems, that's when I got frustrated. That's when I was just like, okay, you're being a little dumb. And then you're gonna up here. You see him actively trying to shoot people to protect you, and then you're gonna go and try to make a jump on a building that you actively can't make. And then the moment that you grab the wire, now you're saying, "Ben, help me! Ben, help me!" Like, chick, you were just running from me. What?
Mm-hmm.
So that upset me. So like that was
Yeah.
like my moment of being upset.
I think they were just trying to do that to make him actually use
Oh
the
yeah.
force. So, which is another problem I have. But I feel like you had more to say. So go on.
So obviously, like you said, this takes place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, and Obi-Wan has changed his name to Ben and is looking after Luke and has been like in hiding and everything else like this. Um, the thing that I liked when I was watching this show was I liked the fact that the Inquisitors are now more of a regular thing in mainstream Star Wars, because for a while the Inquisitors only appeared in Rebels and in Jedi Fallen Order, and it was only in Jedi Fallen Order that we found out how Inquisitors are made. Like, the Inquisitors are in Rebels, but they never talk about who the Inquisitors are or were, or how they do it with the Grand Inquisitor, which I'll get to him in a minute. Um, but they don't really go into depth about what makes an Inquisitor. But in Jedi Fallen Order, they absolutely do. And so seeing these characters appear in Obi-Wan, it makes those other like stories feel more relevant and even more canon than we already knew that they were. So, and like one of the Inquisitors that you see actually appears in Rebels as well. And I thought like that's pretty cool. So I like seeing these elements that expand the larger universe of Star Wars and make things that are in different mediums feel more connected. So, like as a player of the video game and as a watcher of the animations, like that felt good. Um, the whole thing with them chasing a Jedi, I thought was a little weird because they didn't want yeah, that's her name, Reva. They didn't want Reva to kill him, I guess, because they wanted to question him or take him back. But then when they find him later, they string him up and leave him there. So I was just like, well, if your plan was to kill him the whole time, why not let Reva kill him in the first place? I mean, maybe they wanted to question him or something, but that felt a little weird to me. Um, but as far as like the whole element of how do we get Obi-Wan off of Tatooine, I think that Leia being kidnapped and Bail Organa saying, "Hey, Obi-Wan, can you help her?" can I think that that makes sense to me. And what the show is now able to do is that it's able to set up a relationship with Obi-Wan and Leia where Leia at least knew Obi-Wan. So now when she asks for Obi-Wan, like I think originally when you watch New Hope, you feel like she doesn't really know Obi-Wan, and she's just like, "Hey, you served my father in the Clone Wars, and blah blah blah. Like, can you help me?" But now it's like Obi-Wan now has more of a relationship to Leia, and so I guess it can make it feel a little bit more impactful for why he chooses to go and rescue her because he it's not just knowing Bail Organa, but it's also actively knowing her outside of like the one time he saw her when she was born. So I thought that that at least is a little bit of an interesting take.
I agree. I definitely feel like those are all very good connecting factors that we didn't really have before, and it just kind of sews the current story in a little bit more with the stuff that already exists. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
just like kind of they're just doing whatever they feel like doing. Um, my problem though with the Inquisitors, or at least with Riva, is that she's not very. Yeah, you know what I'm gonna say. You're
Yeah.
making that face. Um, she's not scary,
No.
and she just kind of sucks, I guess, because
Mm-hmm.
she's kind of chaotic. I was saying she's chaotic evil, um, and she doesn't really get anything done. And it's,
Well,
I
she
feel
does
like,
find Obi-Wan at least.
kind of. I mean, her plan kind of works, but I mean, let's put it this way. Even though Obi-Wan wasn't really using any of his Jedi powers and he was just going to rescue Leia as Guy, um,
Mm-hmm.
she's still not scary because we all know that he could completely own her in any fight. So,
You're not. It's like we're not worried.
yeah, we're not worried at all. And I think that's like an issue because I feel like the very fact that Obi-Wan went there without the intent of using his Jedi powers is supposed to raise the stakes and kind of make it a little bit like more risky and like more fearful for him because he's not going to be using those powers. But once she knows exactly who he is, so
Mm.
because she knows who he is, there's no reason for him to hide his Jedi powers. And also, he brought the lightsaber with him. I think he should
Mm.
have just left it behind. Because he also just flashed it before he was leaving Tatooine. Like, look, everyone, I have a lightsaber, and I'm also gonna wear the most Jedi outfit that I
Jedi
have. So, um,
That's true. I can't argue with that.
yeah. But that being said, if you take that all away and just take away the lightsaber. Say he like I'm really in hiding, but I'm gonna go like save Leia. I'm not gonna bring my lightsaber because I'm trying to stay in hiding in terms of like not outing myself as a Jedi. I think that would have raised the stakes more. I think it would have been better if she didn't know if what's her name Riva didn't know that Obi-Wan is Obi-Wan, because then that way there would have been higher stakes. He can't use his Jedi powers. He can't use his lightsaber. He just has to be Guy. Then it would make Riva more scary. It would make us worry about both of them a little bit more.
I think Riva would be more scary if she just dialed back how angry she's trying to be. Like the way the actress is playing her, it almost feels like a forced angry. It doesn't feel like a natural rage. Like, say what you will about Hayden Christensen, but like whenever he was playing Anakin and he had those moments of quiet rage, like you felt that he was angry. You felt like he was like basically trying to hold himself back from just losing it. Um, and I get like so like a lot of the Inquisitors, they always have different personalities, and that is what it is. Like the most Inquisitors are previous Padawans. So this is probably a result of her being a Padawan and like unfocused and untrained properly. But she read to me as someone trying to play angry as opposed to someone who's just actually full of rage.
Angry. Yeah.
So it it always felt a little so it always felt forced to me whenever I saw her doing her thing and puffing her cheeks out and walking like this and blah blah blah. And I was just like, I can't take you seriously because this doesn't feel serious. And it does, and like, yeah, she doesn't have to be reserved because that's not her character. Even though like a more reserved person can be scarier. Like if you look at the Rebels version of the Grand Inquisitor, that's the whole thing about him. If you look at General Thrawn, that's the whole thing about him. That's why these characters are scary, because they don't lose to their emotions. They're actually like pinnacle examples of what a Jedi strives to be, but they're for the other side. Um, and so when you see but Riva, that's not her personality type, so I can get behind her being the angry type, but it does make her feel weaker. And and then it also leads you to ask the question, how does, I mean, this is obviously separate, but how does Riva know that Anakin is Darth Vader?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That doesn't make sense either. That's also something that I wrote down. Um, but the other thing about her, like in terms of a reason of why she's not as scary, is because she keeps getting yelled at. Like she keeps getting in trouble by the other guy, so it kind of takes away her power, and it just kind of, even though she ends up killing him at the end of episode 2, it still feels like she's just breaking the rules, and she's not the boss of anything really. She's just someone that takes orders, and she just doesn't take orders well.
Yeah.
um
Also, why now? Like, that's the thing. We talked about Stranger Things earlier, and like the question that we asked with that villain is why now? So why is Riva looking for Obi-Wan now at this point in time? It's been 10 years, right? And she would have been captured as a Padawan, as a youngling, trained as an Inquisitor. Why didn't she start looking for Obi-Wan 5 years ago or 1 year ago? Why now? And why is she so certain about him being alive and so adamant about finding him right now? And that's the thing
mhm.
I don't understand. He hasn't, like, really mild spoilers for Jedi Fallen Order. When Cal is in hiding, he is in hiding for 5 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. And the only reason he gets found is because he uses his force powers to save somebody. And then information gets out that, hey, there's a Jedi on this planet. And that's why the Inquisitors show up. They weren't looking for him, they didn't know he was even there. And Obi-Wan, no one had seen him. No one knew if he was alive. No one knew where he was. If you're going to be looking for him, you could have been looking for him for the last 10 years and not found him. Why are you so certain that he's still alive after 10 years, and why are you certain that he's like somewhere where you can get to him? So it doesn't really make sense as far as her motivation at this point in time. And that's another thing that I thought was a little weird.
I think they do make it seem like she had been looking for him for a while, but there was no reason for anyone to think that he might be on Tatooine. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, he could have been anywhere for,
That's
like,
also true.
yeah. But now all of a sudden they're on Tatooine, and she thinks, like, or they kind of hint at, like, she thinks that maybe he might be there, and that's what stirs the motivation for her to start, like, really looking, like, hunkering down and looking for him again, even though she's not supposed to. Um, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it would have been better if like the Inquisitors were all like in tune with each other, and like there's always been an order to find Obi-Wan, and it's just kind of a ongoing order to be on
Right.
the lookout for him, and like maybe she gets some kind of clue or hint when they're on Tatooine, and then launching the plan, but then like everyone's behind her on it and like giving her more authority, and that makes her more scary. So I feel like
Maybe.
that would have been a little bit better.
And it's interesting because so you've played Jedi Fallen Order, so you know that in that game the Inquisitors are on the same page. Like Trilla
Yes.
and what is it, Ninth Sister? Trilla's second sister, and I think the other one's Ninth Sister. Like both of them, they're not at they're working together. They absolutely on the same page. When you watch Rebels, those Inquisitors are also on the same page. So it is like, and maybe they're trying to say like Reva's the odd one out. Like we'll have to see how her story ends, but yeah, it does feel very odd that that's not how they chose to go, because that does make not only her more scary, but it also makes the Inquisitors more scary because of the fact they're a surgical force that work together. um Bringing up the Grand Inquisitor briefly, and mild spoilers for Star Wars Rebels here. That is a very strange moment because the Grand Inquisitor, who looks just like the Inquisitor, there's another Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels, and he's also the Grand Inquisitor, and everything has led us to believe that these are the same character. But the Grand Inquisitor is in Star Wars Rebels, and Rebels takes place 5 years after the events of Obi-Wan Kenobi, like 5 or 6 years after Obi-Wan Kenobi. So the moment that Reva runs the Grand Inquisitor through, anyone who saw Star Wars Rebels immediately asked, "Wait, what?" Because this character is still alive 5 or 6 years from now when they appear in the first season of Star Wars Rebels. So either the Grand Inquisitor is not the same person or he's not dead, because, and even if he's not the same person, that's still weird because you've seen how he looks, right? So it would mean that the next Grand Inquisitor is literally the same, belongs to the same race of alien, and also becomes the Grand Inquisitor again.
Right. Is that what you were gonna tell me that is from Rebels?
They say what? Say again? What?
Is that the thing that you were gonna tell me that's from Rebels that you were
Yes,
gonna
that's
spoil
the
for
thing.
me? Gotcha. All right.
Yeah. So
Well,
there's a there's a chance that Obi-Wan might have broke the canon. Um, we will see. There, like I said, if we continue and we see that the Grand Inquisitor is not actually dead, then okay, fine. But if the Grand Inquisitor actually is dead, it makes it feel very strange that there's another Grand Inquisitor 6 years later that is the same species and looks exactly the same as the one that Reva just killed.
yeah. Well, Sidious died like a bunch of times and came back, so I don't know.
Right.
And
So
there's force healing. Which, speaking of force healing, when when did the Jedi slash Sith slash Inquisitors learn how to read minds?
I thought the Sith were always able to. Isn't that like a whole Sith thing? Because even Kylo Ren was trying to do that to Rey, um, before. So I feel like, and wasn't, yeah, didn't Darth Vader try to do that to, or did he try to do that to Leia? I don't, in A New Hope. I don't remember now. I know that they tortured Leia with one of those
No.
machines.
See, that's the point that I was kind of making, is that like if like Vader is supposed to be like some really gifted prodigy Jedi Sith guy, then and why is this Inquisitor just reading minds all willy nilly, and like even Kylo Ren has a hard time, like you mentioned, and those characters just automatically become like excellently skilled, even though like Luke and Vader had to train very hard. Anyway, I digress. My point is, Vader was like, he couldn't read Leia's mind. He had to like torture her to get any info about like Alderaan and whatnot. So, and I think he didn't even really get anything because he got false information from her anyway, and then just blew up the planet. So I don't know.
Right. Okay. Well, I will say that within the Clone Wars, they did represent. I mean, they didn't say that it's easy, but they did say that they did show that Jedi are able to, and I think this has happened before, but Jedi are able to, like, I guess kind of feel the Force through people so that they can get information that they want. But it's not always so easy. Like weaker minds, they can have an easier time, but stronger minds, it's basically like impossible. Um, So like, and since Inquisitors are Padawans, maybe, but yeah. I also the thing is that like there have been a lot of Force powers that have been added since A New Hope that weren't necessarily Force powers back in the day. So we never. I don't think in the original trilogy we ever see Obi-Wan, Luke, or Vader read anybody's minds.
Yeah, it just felt a little weird to me because then it also kind of took away the like it would have been better if that character, I think his name is Haja,
If he had just left, if he just didn't show up,
if he
yeah,
didn't try to help, yeah, it would have been
mm-hmm.
better because he gave away their exact location.
Yeah,
Which
I was
brings
like,
me to
which brings her to the next thing. Let's hear it.
I just feel like things are happening a little too easy for everyone. So it's just all happening so like easily. Like Leia literally gets kidnapped at the end of episode 1, and then Obi-Wan literally finds her at the beginning of episode 2, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then the Inquisitor like already found Obi-Wan at the like towards the end of episode 2, so I'm just like, and she just gets it from reading Haja's mind. So I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, this is all just kind of like I just
too
feel like
fast.
not. It's not that it's happening too fast. It just feels like there's no like I'm not on the edge of my seat. And I'm asking questions, but I'm not asking questions about what's gonna happen. I'm asking questions about why things are happening the way they're happening.
That's fair. Yeah, I had the same thought. What's his name? Haja? Was that his
Haja?
name?
Yeah.
Okay, because he says like I'm going to distract you. I had questions for two different reasons there. One was he's clearly pretending to be a Jedi, and he goes and he confronts an Inquisitor. With the way Reva has been like portrayed up until that point, I don't understand why she doesn't just kill him. Like that's the thing. Like he's a buffoon that's getting in her way. Why doesn't she just cut him down? Like she literally just cut a woman's arm off earlier for just speaking up, and now here's a guy that's actively getting in her way to stop her from finding a Jedi that she's like been looking for all this time. Why doesn't she just kill him? So like I was like, so you're angry, but not so angry that you just kill anybody, and it's because they wanted her to be able to read his mind. But then once again, once she reads his mind, I don't understand why she doesn't kill him after that. So I was like, that does feel pretty inconsistent. I think
Yeah.
Reva's a very inconsistent character right now.
Yeah. Speaking of Reva, when they're doing that whole chase scene with Kenobi running after Leia, and then the people chasing after Kenobi, and then we have
Mm-hmm.
like cuts between like that all happening, and then you have Reva who's like running across the rooftops and doing some parkour and stuff. I thought she was there too. I thought she was part of that, but then she wasn't. And she just ends up jumping down from the building, and then she finds Haja. So I'm like, wait, she wasn't part of that chase? So why was she running, and why is she on the rooftops and stuff? Why didn't she just walk
Hmm.
on the street?
So I don't actually remember the order of events there. I have to look at that again, but
It didn't
that
make
is
sense.
odd.
I was like, why is she jumping around? I thought she was part of it, but she's not, apparently. Maybe I
So
missed
she
something.
maybe she got there too late after Obi-Wan had already gotten down, which also that was a funny scene. He basically catches Leia and then like lowers her down, and then in the next cut he's running like down, and I guess they're just trying to imply that some time had passed, but and the way the cut looks is like he caught her, places her on the ground, and then like she gets up and then he runs down the alley. You're just like, wait a second, how did you get
Yeah.
down here so quick?
Yeah, and I was like, wait, they were in the middle of a chase scene, but now everything's okay. Like, those guys that were chasing him are, like, gone, and, like, the Inquisitor, like, Reva is not on his tail either. Like, they were just on the cusp of capturing both of them.
Oh,
So,
I think he killed the guys that were chasing him. I do think he shot them.
right, but at the time, see, I thought Reva was also on his tail, so it was like,
Right, because she
okay,
should have been like going to where they just were,
exactly. And then
because she saw the
and
lasers,
after they like ran away, then she's like jumping from
rooftop to rooftop.
yeah, and
Oh,
or down between two
down.
buildings. And
Right.
so then I was like, why was she up there if she wasn't even anywhere close to them? Because Obi-Wan and like Leia literally just had like a little conversation stress free, as if no one was chasing
I
them
see what you're
anymore.
saying. Yes, they are still there's still urgency. They're still in trouble, so they need to get
Yeah.
out of here. Yeah, and that's why I guess when they find Haja and he gives them the place where they can go to get out of there. Um, yeah, it's definitely uneven. I can definitely agree with you on that. It definitely feels uneven. I appreciate it for the lore that it's expanding upon, but in many ways, it's also making some other pieces of the lore come into question. They'll need to give a really good reason later, like, and I'm sure we'll see what Reva's backstory is, but we're gonna need a really good reason for why Reva would know Anakin and Darth Vader are one and the same, because no one no one knew that Anakin was Darth Vader, right? And I think canonically, um, Tarkin and Thrawn were able to deduce that Anakin was Vader on their own, but they figured it out. And I mean, I guess they could say that Reva could do the same, but Reva doesn't seem that smart to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the two characters I just brought up are like some of the smartest characters in Star Wars. You haven't met Thrawn yet, but in Mandalorian, you hear Ahsoka is looking for Thrawn, so you'll probably meet Thrawn soon. Um, but yeah, so I'm very curious about that specifically, especially considering that most of the time, like even Obi-Wan didn't know that Anakin was alive, and so what it feels like is just a way for them to try to get Obi-Wan to know that Anakin is Vader, as opposed to just having him like maybe meet Vader and through fighting him realize that Anakin is Vader. So like, and once again, Rebels has a very good scene involving Vader and another character that doesn't know that Vader is Anakin, and how that character figures it out during that confrontation. But this feels like kind of the lazy way to try to be like, hey, Obi-Wan, dun dun dun, Anakin's still alive. Even
Mm-hmm.
though this character shouldn't know that Anakin is still alive, the character should only know Vader. And as far as Obi-Wan knows, Vader is just a Sith problem. So yeah.
Yeah. Real quick, hey Diego, thank you for stopping by.
Mhm. Who got
But
up? What
yeah,
up?
I agree. I actually, now that you mention it, it would have been pretty cool if we got to see a reveal for Obi-Wan seeing Anakin as Darth Vader, taking the helmet off, like I'm alive and everything. Because we do know that he eventually finds out that Vader is um, Anakin because of A New Hope. It's well known to him at the beginning when he talks to Luke. He doesn't tell Luke, but he knows, later on when they have that really awesome lightsaber fight. Uh, the coolest one. Uh,
Best lightsaber fight put to strain.
it was the 70s. Yeah. But anyways, but yeah, I don't know. I am a little disappointed. I feel like I like it because I really like Ian McGregor, and
Yeah.
I love Obi-Wan. And I just like the idea of having a show just for him, and like the hopes of having Hayden Christensen come back. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Oh, and I also I really like having little Luke and little Leia being in the story as well. Even though I have some problems with Leia, but I think I just like this because I'm a Star Wars fan. But if I were to really look at it from like a critical, like cinema person kind of standpoint, I'd be like, this isn't great.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I think that it's still shot well. Like if we're talking about like technical level, I think that on a technical level it's shot well. The animatronics that they use versus the green screen, like all that stuff works for me. I think that the score feels very Star Wars, like for this era of Star Wars. Whereas like when I listen to some of the stuff by Ludwig Göransson, for like the Mandalorian or for Boba Fett. Like that feels like kind of new age Star Wars. It doesn't necessarily feel like it fits within the same like scores that you hear like in A New Hope and stuff. But the score for what I hear in Obi-Wan does feel like it's within the same kind of emotional feeling for me. So like I'm okay, but also the score doesn't stand out too much. But at least as far as the feeling, it feels it feels right. Whereas when I first heard that Mandalorian theme, I was like, this doesn't sound like how Star Wars normally sounds, even though I'm vibing with it, and I can get behind it. So I think on a technical level, it it works, but through talking with you about it, I have started to realize that it definitely has a lot of consistency problems where as far as like story and character are concerned. And like you, I probably didn't notice it as much in the moment because I was just so happy to see Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan, and seeing the Inquisitors and seeing all these things that like just add to my, you know, database of Star Wars knowledge and like build and deepening the lore. I was enjoying that, but I think when you take a step back and look at it, it's a little rough. So we'll have to see how it goes. It's only 6 episodes. When we get to episode 6, we'll see how it all comes together, and maybe when it comes together, we'll come back and be able to say that it was really good, or maybe we come back and we say, you know what, it wasn't that good. We'll just see.
I was like, really on the fence there when we made the decision to put it on an open discussion instead of it wasn't that good. But I do have to say, at least it's not nearly as poor as The Force Awakens and the two films that followed that. So, that being said,
Yes,
I think
and
it
the
just
director,
has the star power and it has the character power.
and even though this isn't a movie, like you just compared it to movies, like even though it isn't a movie, it is almost being filmed like a movie because it has one director. Deborah Chow is the director. She did a couple episodes of The Mandalorian, um, and she is like the one consistent director for the entire thing. And so it's just her unified vision. So I am hoping that that culminates into a very strong and good product coming together. Because if there's anything that I've learned from shows like Peacemaker, um, is that one's like solid writer or vision for an entire show can make the thing feel like super consistent and super good. So with Deborah Chow being the sole director for the entirety of Obi-Wan, I'm hoping that culminates into something that really does feel cohesive and worth it by the
Well, here's the hoping.
end. Yep. We have a new hope today.
Oh gosh. You just went there.
I'm gonna ignore what you just said, Seth. We're about to get out of here, guys. So, is there anything else you wanted to say, real quick before we go? We've been talking for almost 40 minutes on this.
Nope, just if you guys want to hear more talk about the same shows, we do talk more about these shows after we're done with these recordings, so join us on Twitch.
Yes, and that's twitch.tv/C3Films, so we'd really love to see you guys over there. But what do you guys think about Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi series? Have you seen the first 2 episodes? Did you find that there's a couple of lore-breaking moments in there? Did you think that it strengthened the lore of Star Wars? Whatever you thought about it, comment below. Let us know. And while you're down there, if you give us a like, share, and subscribe, it really does help us out. Even if you don't, though, I have been Chris, and this has been
Cheryl, and we'll see you all next time.